General Hospital spoilers tease that this year's Nurses' Ball will dazzle Port Charles with its cascade of candlelight, cascading gowns, and soaring melodies, but beneath the shimmer of sequins and the sheen of satin, a darker undercurrent of betrayal and desperation is poised to crash the soiree in spectacular fashion. The grand ballroom of Metro Court stands as a testament to tradition and pageantry. Towering floral arrangements flank the stage, and crystal chandeliers drip prisms of light across ivory-draped tables. Nurses in flowing gowns, emerald, sapphire, ruby, murmur excitedly as they rehearse opening waltzes, sharing laughter and gossip in equal measure. It is, at heart, a celebration, a chance for Port Charles's healers to cast aside their clinical scrubs for silks and lace, to swap life and death stakes for laughter and soft music. Yet whispers slip through the crowd like ice through fingers. Somebody intends to use this night of charity and goodwill to do more than simply entertain. Unseen among the throngs of well-wishers and philanthropists is Drew Kane, his handsome features set in a dark mask of concentration. Underneath his tailored tuxedo lies a small vial of ketamine, an odorless, tasteless powder capable of rendering a victim unconscious within minutes. For weeks, Drew has nursed a grudge against Curtis Ashford, the hospital's chief of surgery, convinced that Curtis's relentless investigations into his past sins have jeopardized the fragile empire Drew now seeks to build. Tonight, fueled by bitterness and a newfound ruthlessness, Drew plans to spike Curtis's drink, to humiliate him, to exact revenge, and, perhaps, to remind Portia Robinson that she still owes him her obedience. Across the ornate foyer, Curtis Ashford stands in a pocket of hallway light, watching guests arrive with benign pride. As head of surgery at General Hospital, Curtis is used to being revered. His colleagues trust his skill with the scalpel, his friends lean on his compassionate heart, but lately, that trust has begun to erode. Portia, his wife of 2 years, has been distant, diverting her attention from him to the man who once served as both protege and tormentor, Drew Kane. Curtis's heart tightens each time he sees Portia defend Drew's schemes, each time she softens at the hint of Drew's half-confessions about vulnerability and past trauma. Curtis's mind churns with questions. Has Portia fallen under Drew's spell? Is she blind to the man's true nature? Worse, has she come to trust him more than she trusts her own husband? The suspicion that Portia might be aiding, if not actively colluding with Drew, gnaws at Curtis's sleep and stains his waking hours with doubt. Even the bright prospect of tonight's ball cannot fully dispel the storm gathering in his chest. Portia Robinson, meanwhile, stands backstage in a quiet alcove, smoothing her clutch against trembling fingers. She glances at her reflection in a gilded mirror. The woman she sees is poised and elegant, but her eyes betray exhaustion. The ballroom beyond pulses with music and conversation, yet every note feels laced with tension. She had promised herself that tonight would be a night of normalcy, a night to support her husband and celebrate her fellow nurses. And yet, she cannot escape the memory of Drew's relentless threats, leaked emails, whispered rumors of compromised test results, insinuations that she had once manipulated a patient's diagnostics for personal gain. Drew's leverage over her has tightened into a vice. When he first brought up her error, altering a critical blood test out of misplaced compassion, Portia had confessed, expecting condemnation. Instead, Drew had leaned in, a cold smile on his lips, telling her he could make that truth disappear if she agreed to help him. He needed access to hospital data, invitations to high-level charity galas, and the cloak of legitimacy that came from having Portia publicly at his side. Portia, tormented by guilt and fear of professional ruin, acquiesced, watching in silent horror as Drew's hold grew stronger with each passing week. Back in the hallway, Curtis receives a whispered heads-up from Max Scorpio, his old friend and confidant, hinting at Drew's suspicious movements tonight. Max's eyes darken as he mentions seeing Drew slip something into his pocket earlier. Curtis's jaw tightens. He grips Portia's arm as she emerges, determined to protect her from whatever danger lurks. But Portia jerks away, panic flashing in her eyes. "Curtis, please," she pleads, voice hushed. "I can't tell you everything." Curtis stares at her, heart twisting. "Why not?" Portia's tears glisten. She opens her mouth to speak, but the memory of Drew's ultimatum sears her silence. Instead, she simply nods and melts back into the crowd, leaving Curtis with nothing but his worst fears. Moments later, in the bustling corridors of General Hospital's fundraising office, Drew Kane strides in, triumphant, tossing a vial of ketamine from hand to hand like a gambler with a winning chip. He plans to slip it into the champagne flutes arranged for Curtis during the ball's opening toast, a theatrical act of cruelty meant to prove Portia's loyalties and to humiliate the man who dared to challenge him. Yet, even as he rehearses the deed mentally, a flicker of unease tugs at his conscience. Portia's eyes, filled with regret and fear, haunt him. Has he pushed her too far? He shakes his head, no room for doubt tonight. Tonight, he will show Port Charles who truly holds power. As the sun dips below the skyline, casting long shadows through the metro court windows, the nurses take their places on stage. The orchestra tunes its instruments, and the master of ceremonies welcomes the crowd with practiced charm. Elegantly clad attendees take their seats. The buzz of conversation swells. Curtis, wearing his crisp black tux, sweeps Portia into place next to him. She smiles weakly but cannot meet his gaze. Across the room, Drew slips close, pressing a finger to his lips as he exchanges a conspiratorial nod with a bartender. The scene is mesmerizing in its normalcy until it is not. Curtis scans the sea of faces, searching for Portia's smile, for any sign of the woman he married. His pulse quickens. He senses a presence close by, something sinister hidden in plain sight. Just as the MC raises his glass to begin the opening toast, Curtis's ears pick up the softest click. A staccato whisper of glass on glass as Drew carefully tilts a syringe into the rim of Curtis's flute. Curtis's breath catches. In that instant, a piece of Portia's notebook, a page containing scribbled phone numbers and cryptic phrases, slips from her clutch onto the floor. She bends to retrieve it, and Curtis sees the top line clearly: Drew's ketamine plan, Kyle, midnight. Realization crashes over him like icy waves. He springs to his feet, knocking Portia gently aside as he storms across the stage. Gasps ripple through the audience as Curtis strides up behind Drew, who has just finished his surreptitious pour. Without hesitation, Curtis swings, fist connecting squarely with Drew's jaw. The ballroom erupts into stunned silence, then chaos. Drew staggers, clutching his face. Curtis stands over him, chest heaving, voice low and furious. "You touch my wife or my drink, you answer to me." Security rushes in to separate them. Curtis barely registers their hands on his arms. His eyes burn with betrayal and righteous anger. Portia, shaken, runs to Curtis's side. "Curtis, no, please," she sobs. He turns to her, expression torn between fury and heartbreak. "Why didn't you tell me?" he demands. Portia bows her head, tears streaming. "I was ashamed. He threatened me, blackmailed me. I thought I could protect you both." Curtis's shoulders slump, and he pulls her into a fierce embrace, anger melting into relief. "You're safe now," he whispers. "I swear, I'll make sure of it." In the aftermath, as guests murmur and cameras flash, Drew is escorted from the hall, his scheme thwarted, his reputation in tatters, and the ketamine vial confiscated for evidence. Curtis knows there will be inquiries, possibly even charges. He may face suspension for assaulting Drew. But as he stands beside Portia, clutching her hand, those worries fade into the background. Tonight, truth has triumphed over deceit, and the bonds of their marriage, tested by fear and secrecy, have emerged stronger for their shared ordeal. The night air outside Metro Court chills the skin as guests spill onto the terrace, eager to catch their breath after the scandal that shook the nurses' ball. Overhead, string lights twinkle like distant stars. Portia leans against Curtis, who wraps an arm around her shoulders, shielding her from prying eyes. Their embrace is intimate solace after public humiliation. They need a moment away from the swarm of reporters and shocked onlookers. Inside the ballroom, the MC clears his throat, attempting to restore decorum. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's all remember why we're here, to celebrate the healing spirit of Port Charles's nurses. The room hums with tension as servers circulate champagne, minus Curtis's flute, conspicuously absent. Conversations flicker between the drama of the brawl and the evening's charitable purpose. Tickets are still sold, auctions will resume, and the show must go on, albeit under a new shadow. Curtis leads Portia to a quiet corner by the fountain in the hotel's atrium. The sound of bubbling water offers a soothing counterpoint to the night's earlier chaos. Portia's face glimmers with tears she cannot fully shed. "Curtis," she begins, voice trembling, "I want to tell you everything." Curtis guides her to a bench beneath a floral archway and holds her gaze. "Start at the beginning," he prompts, his tone gentle but firm. Portia takes a deep breath. She recounts the first time Drew approached her with knowledge of her past mistake, the altered test result that had saved a life but risked her license. She tells Curtis how, instead of seeking help, she had hidden in fear. She describes the moment Drew confessed he had evidence that could ruin her, and how he leveraged that threat to ensnare her in his schemes, charity events, PR stunts, and ultimately this night's nefarious plot. She confesses her own desperate measure, acquiring a vial of ketamine from hospital stock, intending to incapacitate Drew when he least expected it. But that plan, too, had failed. She hesitated, her resolve faltered, and Drew escaped with the ketamine, setting the stage for tonight's attempt on Curtis. Curtis listens, agony and relief weaving through his expression. When Portia finishes, head bowed, he gently lifts her chin. "You should have told me," he says softly, "but I understand why you didn't. I'm just glad you're safe." He pulls her into his arms. "We'll face this together, every bit of it. There's nothing you have to hide from me now." Portia clings to him, sobbing. "I thought I was protecting you. I thought if I kept it secret no one else would get hurt." Curtis strokes her hair. "You protected me by being honest tonight. That's what matters." They remain there for several minutes, the hum of the ball fading behind them, drawing strength from each other. Inside, the auctioneer's gavel again beckons guests to their seats, signaling the resumption of festivities and the launch of the live auction for pediatric heart surgery funding. Curtis and Portia exchange a determined glance, ready to rejoin the world they've nearly lost. Back in the ballroom, Drew Kane sits in a security office adjacent to the main hall, watched over by officers taking his statement. His jaw is swollen, and his eyes gleam with a mix of rage and regret. He realizes that every scheme he's crafted, every manipulation of Portia, every secret he's carefully hoarded, has cost him dearly. Once a man who prided himself on control, he now finds himself stripped of dignity, facing the very consequences he long sought to impose on others. At the same moment, across the hotel grounds, Max Scorpio and Anna Devane coordinate with local news channels to manage the fallout. Footage of Curtis's punch is already trending, and social media explodes with headlines. "Ashford vs. Kane. Ball brawl shocks Port Charles. Nurses ball terror plot thwarted. Heroic husband saves dame in distress." The story will dominate the evening news, but behind the sensationalism lies a deeper narrative of loyalty, love, and the power of truth to conquer deception. Meanwhile, Curtis and Portia slip back into the ballroom hand in hand. Guests part respectfully, offering nods of admiration and relief. Curtis takes the podium, his first time addressing the ball, his voice steady. "Tonight, we've witnessed how quickly darkness can threaten even our brightest celebrations. But we've also seen how, together, we can shine a light that no evil can snuff out." He raises his glass. "To courage, honesty, and the healing heart that binds us all." Portia stands beside him, leaning into his side as the crowd cheers. As the orchestra strikes up a hopeful overture, the ball transforms from a scene of scandal into a testament to resilience. Nurses dance again, their steps lighter now that fear has been banished. Guests raise their paddles for the auction, bids climbing higher than ever in a show of solidarity. Portia and Curtis exchange smiles, their marriage tested by secrets, but now stronger for having emerged into full light. Outside, in a quiet courtyard bathed in moonlight, Drew Kane is led away in handcuffs. He pauses at the gate, looking back at the jubilant scene beyond. Guilt and bitterness warp his expression. He knows he's crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed, and as the police car carries him into the night, he wonders if redemption is ever truly possible for a man who wove his life in shadows. Inside the ballroom, the final notes of the evening's concert linger in the air as overhead lights dim and a single dancer takes the stage, Portia in Curtis's arms, twirling beneath a canopy of rose petals. The melody soars, echoing the triumph of truth over deceit, of love that survives even the darkest betrayal. And as the nurses' ball draws to a close, Port Charles breathes a collective sigh of relief, knowing that while secrets may fester in hidden corners, it is the courage to reveal them that truly heals the heart.